The Toyota Land Cruiser dates back to 1958, hence the name of the base trim. We get a full refresh this year. Is it going to live up to the Land Cruiser badging? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to compare the 1958 in this black paint against the first edition in brown sugar metallic, so you can see the differences between them. And to answer that question, is it still a true Land Cruiser? Starting in the front for the 1958, everything's going to be LED. You're going to have the Heritage grille, the Toyota badging in the satin aluminum, standard front parking sensors, as well as the standard fog light, and clearance goes 8.3 to 8.7 inches, which is about 0.2 inches less than the prior gen. It's also 4.4 inches narrow and 1.2 inches shorter. When you jump up to the first edition, you're going to get the rigid fog light, and that can be optioned on the Land Cruiser with a 360-degree reverse camera, adding skid plates and rock wells for the first edition trim. All trims will receive the same iForce Max 2.4 liter that's producing 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, achieving 22 mpgs for the city, 25 mpgs for the highway. The 1958 will start off with a rear locking differential. The Land Cruiser will add the front stabilization bar disconnect, and that will carry on into the first edition. We have upgraded 18-inch. This is a 265/65 all-terrain tires, so when you're thinking about rock crawling, this is the vehicle to do it in. Now, some slight differences you'll notice on the side, as the side view mirror will get the flat black, as well as the top trim for the A-pillar and on the rear, but all the door handles will still get the gloss black, and the drop predator steps to get inside. As for the first edition, you get the roof racks, which is going to make it a little bit more off-roadsy. You're getting a 265/70 18-inch all-terrain tires, plus you have multi-terrain select and multi-camera select as well. So when you're doing your off-road capabilities, that 360-degree reverse camera can configure into an off-road camera to show your pinch and roll, making it a little bit easy, because let's face it, this is what the Land Cruiser's meant to do. Mud flaps with the first edition badging, whereas on the 1958 you're just gonna have mud flap. There's really not that much to distinguish the first edition opposed to a base or a Land Cruiser, which is a con for me because it starts going up into $80,000 pricing. Plus, we now no longer receive a third row. You can't option heated rear seats, but then in the cargo, you'll see there's just a few things that they should have tweaked, because they kept the iconic styling for the rear of the Land Cruiser, standard LED taillights, reverse parking sensors are on both with the reverse camera standard. Digital rear view mirror starts on the Land Cruiser and goes up the tier, which is stationed inside, so it makes it a little bit easier, because if they put it on the shark fin antenna, obviously you wouldn't be able to see anything. And towing up to 6,000 pounds, which when you tick the box for the Lexus variant, the GX, you get nearly 10,000 pounds. Plus you have more powerful options for the engine. So I feel like they've just tamed the Land Cruiser, making it a little bit better than the 4Runner, giving us the same power option as a Toyota Tacoma. And going into the first edition or the Land Cruiser, we'll get a power liftgate. All the Land Cruisers have where you can open up here so you can throw in any goodies. Going into 37.8 cubic feet of storage. We have a home plug here. Underneath the floor, optimizes storage cubbies pretty much everywhere. Even one all the way up here. And to split fold the rear bench, you do have to go into the back, and that will maximize the cargo capacity to the new Land Cruiser. 1958 edition. First edition. Cloth interior with 6-way manual adjustment for the driver and passenger, standard heated front seats. When you go up to the Land Cruiser, you will get the soft tech with 8-way power seat adjustment for the driver. The first edition has 12-way power seat adjustment, heated ventilated front seats, 8-way power seat adjustment for the passenger, leather wrapped seats. Heated ventilated can be on the Land Cruiser. Manual cushion extensions can also be optioned. Memory for the driver. The Land Cruiser is a complete box, so inside you're not going to have an issue at all for the front occupants for head and leg space. Land Cruiser badging, circular air vents, and it's going to be a two-part dash, but it's going to be flat. When you go into the Land Cruiser, you'll have an option for a heads-up display as well as a digital rear view mirror. This will just have an auto-dimming rear view mirror. No moonroof, but you can option that in the Land Cruiser. Standard tri-climate control settings with rectangular vents. The touchscreen is going to be 8-inch with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio. Put it into reverse and we get a reverse camera. Whereas on the first edition, we get a 360-degree reverse camera. And check this thing out. When you put it to do off-road, now you have your pinch and roll, and you can see on the sides, you can also expand this so that way you can see a little bit more, and then just put it into regular driving mode for the 360-degree reverse camera. So when you click this button here, look at this, you get your bird's eye view. Digital rear view mirror, the moonroof, wireless charging pad, and the key fob for the new Land Cruiser. You cannot option the wireless charging pad for the 1958 edition, leather around the shifter, the auto locking, and the driving mode select. For the first edition, we'll have a 12.3 digital reader that has your sport, normal, eco, and when you go to do some more off-roading capabilities, deep snow, mud, sand, dirt, and auto. It is configurable, so you can change the different design layouts by just simply clicking here. You can put your maps, you can put different settings, messages. This comes standard with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. But the 1958 edition will have a 7-inch gauge cluster, no option for the 12.3. No option for 14 speakers through JBL sound system, which starts on the Land Cruiser. Leather wrapped steering wheel, it's multi-function. It is heated. And I like how the center keeps that grille pattern. It's going to be soft to touch, opens up into a cool box, which you could turn on and off. But the 1958 will not have this as an option. You can get it on the Land Cruiser. Door panel, dashboard configuring together. And it's going to be everyday materials, one touch up and down for all the windows. As the first edition gets some soft inserts and the badging, and it's soft where you rest your arms, in the same size storage pocket. The 1958 headroom is not going to be an issue because the roof is completely flat because we don't have any moonroof. Storage behind both of the front seats, it's going to be the same, except they'll be leather wrapped with the third climate control, USB ports, 12 volts. There's no air vents, but you get the Land Cruiser badging here, and there's no option for heated rear seats, cup holders with armrests. The door is going to have the same segment as the front, so everyday materials. Whereas the first edition gets the badging yet again, soft materials and the same size storage pocket. These seats also recline, so this is reclined all the way back. Sliding into the center, the floor isn't completely flat. You'll share some feet space, but not so much because it's a wide vehicle. The same thing with butt, leg, and shoulder space. And headroom, because we have a moonroof, you have to sit back a little bit because the way the headliner is carved out. And some cons for the interior starts with the third row because we don't even have an option, but yet we have USB ports, cup holders, air vents, and a grab handle, plus no rear heated seats. Come on. The 1958, check it out. The iForce Max turbocharge has some power underneath it. We do lose horsepower, but we gain torque, which makes this a little bit more of a fun driving vehicle. It's also a little bit smaller than the prior gen, so for practicality, makes it a little bit easier. For maneuverability, the steering, it's not going to be heavy like the prior gen either. But then there is some pros and cons that I have to start off with right off the bat. The pros is they keep the iconic style. They give you some good standard features. They've decreased the price. But then the cons, you're losing towing capabilities. You're losing payload capabilities. It's not going to offer a third row. You don't get heated rear seats. When you get into the 1958 opposed to the first edition that we're comparing against, you get small screens. It's literally forcing me into a GX. And I want the Land Cruiser. So why can't they give me some of those attributes here instead of giving us all the bells and whistles going into the GX? Plus, we only get one power option, which is efficient. You have plenty of power, as you can see now. but it would have been better if they didn't hold it back as much as they're doing to force you to start looking at the Lexus variant. Even though they've discounted the pricing, I kind of wish that they have integrated just a little bit more here, because we did lose the V8, because when you consider the power option that we have, this is basically a Toyota Tacoma. And I want it to be different than that. I want it to stand apart from class, because the Land Cruiser is what's known to be the top trim for Toyota, not putting it with the Tacoma and a 4Runner. But as an overall package, I like what you're getting, because you do get a lot more safety features, a lot more standard features, better MPGs, and it's something that is a little bit more practical. Now the first edition, power, it's gonna be the same. Suspension, it feels about the same, even though you have a little bit more capabilities when you go into the first edition. Sound deadening is right at the same. The cushions to the seats are better when you get into the leather trim, plus you get the manual cushion extensions, which is a huge upgrade opposed to the prior gen, at least for tall people like me. I just like how it feels a little bit more sleek, yet keeping an elegant stance, plus keeping the DNA of a Land Cruiser. It's hard to keep that same formula when you're doing a full refresh, especially throwing in a turbocharged 4-cylinder with hybrid technology. I personally would go into the Land Cruiser, the mid trim, because you can option more or less the same features that you get in the first edition. And when you go into the base, it's okay if you're looking to get a deal. But is this better than the prior gen? I like the V8 that we lost. It did have more horsepower, you have a little bit more capabilities, but then the interior was getting old. When you look at this, you're getting a lot more safety features, you're getting a lot more standard features, it's a lot more soft, better MPGs, and you're still able to conquer most of the things that the Land Cruiser could do with a V8 option. The major difference, though, is you're doing it a little bit more upscale opposed to more rugged from the prior gen. Turn radius, it's going to be the same in both trims. It's about 3 lanes. Let's rock and roll. The maneuverability you saw, if a FedEx truck pulls out in front of you, you can do so by moving seamless and keeping a smooth drop. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Gettle Stadium Toyota for giving us these two 2024 Land Cruisers, the 1958 versus the first edition, for our car comparison review.